All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating scientific analysis of one of the most iconic, complex, and honestly heavily debated actions in modern sports, the soccer header. To truly understand what actually happens to the human body during this unbelievably brief moment in a match, we're turning to some incredibly comprehensive research put together by Dr. Christophe Delong and the team at Kinexa Formation. They've mapped out the exact biomechanics and the stark medical realities of this high-stakes athletic event, and we're going to break the whole thing down for you right now. To do this topic justice, we're basically going to slow down time. We'll be looking at the precise anatomy of a header, frame by frame. We're talking everything from the sheer, raw physical power required to launch a player's body into the air, all the way through to the delicate vulnerability of the human brain upon impact. It's a pretty wild journey for explosive muscle strength down to microscopic cellular risks. Okay, here's our roadmap for the breakdown. Section 1, the biomechanics of the jump. 2, the contact phase. 3, traumas and CTE. 4, mastering the technique. And finally, 5, prevention and the future. Let's just jump right in. But before we get deep into the physics of it all, consider this for a second. Is heading the ball the absolute most dangerous act in modern sports? I mean, think about it. It's this entirely unique scenario where an athlete purposefully uses their head to strike a moving object, and they're usually doing it while colliding with another player in midair. It's this profound intersection of immense athletic power and just stark physical vulnerability. You are literally using your brain's casing to bat away a high-speed projectile.
So let's start at the very beginning. Phase 1. The hardware of the jump, or the biomechanics du saut. This is all about the incredible physical force required to just get airborne.
You know, a great header doesn't actually start in the neck. It starts all the way down in the ground. Players use what's called an ascending kinetic chain, which is basically just a fancy way of saying they build momentum step by step from the floor up. It kicks off with the calves, the triceps orale, pushing hard off the turf. That energy immediately transfers up to the quadriceps for this explosive knee extension. Next, the glutes and hamstrings, the fessiers and ischio-jambiers, fire up to extend the hips for maximum verticality. And then finally, the trunk straightens out to finalize the chain. It's this rapid, sequential firing that lets a player maximize their height and prep their upper body for the strike. And once the player actually leaves the ground, well, look at the specific posture elite athletes adopt. They don't just lazily float up there, they configure their bodies like a coiled spring. You'll see this compensatory lumbar hyperextension, basically arching the lower back, to maintain perfect balance. The knees are bent to stabilize any rotation, and notice how the arms are elevated forward? That actually increases their vertical inertia, literally adding another 5 to 10 centimeters of height. This precise biomechanical coordination is exactly what allows players like Cristiano Ronaldo to reach those staggering heights of over 2.9 meters. Right, now we're going to abruptly slow down our basing here because all of that explosive jumping leads up to one singular critical micromoment, the contact phase. The actual phase where the ball meets the skull, it lasts a mere 50 to 150 milliseconds. That is literally faster than the blink of an eye. It's an astonishingly short window, but make no mistake, it is absolutely the most critical phase for both the tactical performance of the pass or shot and the traumatic risk to the player. Listen to this. During a powerful, intentional header, the angular velocity of the cervical spine can reach an estimated 150 to 200 degrees per second. That is violent, whiplash-level speed. We're talking car crash physics, right there on the pitch. If the body isn't properly prepared to handle that sudden, massive transfer of energy, the results can be just devastating. And that brings us to a massively important concept from Dr. Delong's research: anticipation feed-forward. Because the impact is so incredibly fast and the velocity so high, a player literally can't react after the ball hits them. It's too late. The brain has to anticipate. Between 50 and 100 milliseconds before the ball even arrives, the neck muscles have to pre-activate and contract. This transforms the head, neck, and trunk into a single, rigid system. It acts like biological armor, drastically reducing the dangerous acceleration of the brain rattling inside the skull. Unfortunately, though, that built-in protection sometimes fails, which brings us to Section 3, system errors in the brain. We have to pivot from the cool biomechanics to the stark medical reality. Studies show that over 80% of concussions in football happen during these exact aerial duels. When two athletes jump for the same ball, it's not just the head in danger, the entire body is at risk. It's a total cascade of hazards. A head-to-head collision violently forces the cervical spine into sudden hyperflexion, risking severe sprains or worse. Inside the skull, the brain faces rapid linear and rotational acceleration, which leads straight to concussions. Faces clash, resulting in nasty nasal fractures. And actually, even on the way down, an asymmetrical landing can easily cause an ACL tear in the knee. The danger is truly systemic from head to toe.
But here's the thing. The acute, visible traumas on the field, that's only half the story. It isn't just the big knockout hits. It's the thousands of silent, sub-concussive impacts over a player's career. Hits that don't cause any immediate symptoms, but have heavily documented cumulative effects. The data is sobering. Ex-professional footballers face a neurodegenerative mortality risk roughly 3.5 times higher than the general population. 3.5 times. This is directly linked to chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, which is caused by the buildup of tau proteins in the brain, particularly destroying the frontal white matter after years and years of repeated headers.
So what do we do with this? If the hardware of the jump is powerful and the medical risks are that severe, we desperately need a software update. Section 4 is all about mastering the technique, because flawless technique is essentially a player's absolute first line of defense. According to the analysis, the perfect header is a highly repeatable 5-step sequence. Step 1, anticipation and placement. You have to read the trajectory and position your body to attack the ball. Never, ever just wait for it passively. Step 2, impulsion, using strong footwork to guarantee a stable jump. Step 3, body engagement. You have to engage the core and the trunk to generate power, rather than just snapping your neck forward. Step 4, contact, hitting the ball squarely with a flat central forehead. And step 5, a balanced landing to protect those knees and ankles we talked about. Now, when that sequence breaks down, the risks multiply exponentially. These are the fatal errors players absolutely must avoid. A relaxed neck is arguably the worst offender. If the head bobbles upon impact, the brain's acceleration inside the skull violently increases. Closing your eyes, that ruins your timing entirely, making that crucial anticipation feed-forward armor impossible to deploy. Using a bad contact zone, like the top of the head or the temples, drastically reduces control and spikes the danger. And finally, practicing with a heavy, waterlogged, or overinflated ball. That is essentially like heading a cannonball, subjecting the brain to completely unnecessary trauma. Whether you're a casual fan, a weekend warrior, or coaching kids, understanding these mechanical failures is absolutely crucial. Which seamlessly leads us right into our final section, building the firewall. How is the sport actually reacting to all this clear scientific data? Well, the governing bodies of soccer are evolving their rules, and the guiding principle is pretty straightforward. Fewer headers, less forceful headers, and introducing them much later in life. For kids under 10 to 12, heading is increasingly being outright banned or strictly limited, prioritizing foot skills instead. Adolescents now have capped weekly heading volumes in practice. And crucially, modern medical protocols are finally waking up to gender differences. The data clearly shows that women face a 1.9 times higher risk of concussion and often experience much slower recovery times, which means they require specifically tailored prevention and monitoring strategies. Now, at the professional and adult amateur levels, the focus shifts heavily toward building that physical armor. Programs like the FIFA 11 Plus emphasize strict cervical strengthening. Why? Because a stiffer, stronger neck directly reduces that dangerous rotational acceleration of the head during an impact. The protocol they use is super methodical. It starts with basic chin tucks to wake up the deep flexors, then it progresses to isometric holds in 4 directions, moves on to dynamic resistance band work, and finally integrates neck movements into full-body core exercises like planks. So here's the bottom line from all this research. Heading remains a vital, exciting, tactical tool in football for sure. But the era of just ignoring its biological cost, that's over. We understand the biomechanics, we see the stark medical realities, and we know exactly what the technical and preventative solutions are. So the question I'll leave you with today is this. With the science now undeniably clear, how will the beautiful game continue to adapt its rules, its training, and its culture to protect the minds of its players, all while keeping the spirit of the sport alive? The future definitely depends on fewer, safer, and technically perfect impacts. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.